So back on it today. Lost all day yesterday. Had to deal with some stuff at the house I bought. So that's all set. Picked up some other parts while I was out yesterday, and a friend of mine let me know he had some S10 V8 swap headers, and this is an S10 chassis. Problem is the motor is mounted back and lower than it does typically in an S10 with this setup. And these plugs are angle plug heads, so I'm going to give these a try. If these go in, it'll save me a ton of time, so we'll give that a shot. If not, I'll get started on the rest of it. And then the radiator, I'm going to work on some mounts. So these are the S10 swap headers. We'll see how those are going to fit. And you can see the angle plugs, but they also angle downward. And that's one of the problems that I'm running into with some of the other headers. And in the last video, I quickly made up these upper mounts. And I think for the bottom, I have these exhaust hangers style. But my buddy gave me these. They're a little bit more supple. They're a little more rubbery. I think I'm going to make some probably angle iron off the frame, drill the holes for these so it'll sit on some sort of rubber. Just where, you know, the steering box mounts there, so if there's any flex in the frame, I don't want it to fatigue the radiator and whatnot. So I got these. If I want to get ambitious, I have a bunch of these. I could put these into this bracket here, just shorten it up on this end, drill the hole out a little bigger, and sandwich two of those and isolate the top if I want. Not too overly worried because the top has this big ear here that will flex if anything's flexing, but it also has this cross brace right here that is stopping that from flexing anyway. So it should be fine. Got a longer spacer for the fan, which I think is exactly what I need. I stopped over at my buddy's house, Matt's house last night, and yeah, grabbed my small bender, and in case we got to modify headers, that might come in handy. And then I got an issue with a starter. I'll go over that afterwards for my buddy's car. So let's start off fitting these headers. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Oh, that was short-lived. They fit better than any of the other headers. I can actually get bolts in these ones. So they're falling into place. I'll show you the problems. Like I was mentioning, one of the main problems is still the angle plug heads. Yeah, so like I said, I got it bolted flat to the head. This spark plug right here, get an angle here. This spark plug right here is aiming dead center inside of this pipe, and by like ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch inside the pipe. So I had to take that one out just to get it to fit. This one up here, that one's actually got just enough room for the wire to go on without melting, and really close to the control arm here. So I'd have to heat it and dent it here. I'd have to cut this basically and re-aim this. But then also this one here is touching, so I'd have to cave this in a good amount or rework this whole pipe all the way back because of this. So I could cut this back here and try and rework the whole thing to what I need, which is a possibility. But the other thing is the clutch pivot ball. The clutch Z-bar has to go right here. There's another mount for it back there, but because of the car's body design, it's going to be a huge pain in the butt for me to make that work back here, because this is actually a structure point of the cab. So I kind of need a straight shot off of that. So that's a problem. If that was the only problem, I'd say I'd work with that back here and make that work and make that into my project rather than a whole header. But this will be a whole header and clutch linkage issue. But like I said, this is the first one that's actually bolted to the head, so it's definitely getting closer. Now the other side, this side here actually fit in with the spark plugs in it, but then again you can see that one's jamming right in. This front one does have enough room. And then these ones are just about touching that pipe back here also. So, and I have to grind away some of the bevel housing to clear that flare, because it's got a scatter shield in it. That's not the end of the world. And then I'd have to dent it in on this side here also to clear the control arm, because the suspension's all the way up right now. So when this comes up, it's going to want to be caved in here, and I'd have to cave it in here a ton. So I'm going to contemplate this a little bit more. But like I said, this is the best out of the, what did I have, 4 other sets? So this makes 5 sets. So yeah, and just to show how far off it is from what the S10 would have been, because these are specific for S10s. This is the steering shaft going in, and that's kind of the area I'm looking to aim right there. So it's just barely clear. But if you look, see these tubes are wicked far out? That's how much further forward and up this motor would have been in a stock S10 application, because this rod is designed to go through this opening. That's why these tubes go out so far. So that's why I'm having problems with this. And then, like I said, the angle plug heads are just a disaster by themselves. All right, let me contemplate this a little bit. I'll contemplate that for a minute. Maybe I'll let those sit while I mess with the radiator. Oh, that was the other thing, is I got to figure out radiator hoses. So I got a couple of different options on thermostat outlet. I got a straight one, and then I got the later generation angle one and whatnot. And then from all my past builds, got a bunch of random radiator hoses. These are ones that I've bought, forgot where they came from, didn't return them, they were super cheap, I just kept them anyway, or remnants that were left over from used motors I got or cars I pulled apart and modified. So these always come in handy to stop mocking up stuff. So the good thing with this is, even if you don't find exactly what you want, you may find the exact shape you want in the wrong size, or the right size, just it needs a different bend somewhere. So you can grab a reference out of these even, and then go to the parts store, beg them to let you go in the back room and look at the hoses because you don't have an application, and then you have something to walk in there and match up with and be like, you know, like for instance, like, yeah, this will fit perfectly, but one end needs to be bigger. And you can bring it in and size it right up and know exactly what you get. It takes a lot of the curse off. I know a lot of people bend up a coat hanger and then measure everything, and the coat hangers, they're really vague because it's tiny, thin, from here into the car, into the parts store, into the back, setting it down, grabbing hoses, picking it up. It can tweak a little bit, and like I said, it's a 1/8 inch, 16th inch rod or whatever it is. It's better than nothing, but if you can do something like this, it helps out big time. So I'll start fitting with that right now, just see where we stand with that, and keep contemplating on those headers. All right, so we ended up with what I think is the perfect upper radiator hose. That looks pretty good to me. And then for the bottom one, basically just needs to have a 90, and this. If I bend this like this, that mark is right where the bend needs to be, and that's how long it needs to be to the pump, and that's the correct diameter. So now I can go to the parts store and just kind of hold that bent and line it up to all the other hoses. All right, let's continue on with something else, and I'll hold off on running to the parts store until I need to go for something else probably. All right, one more hurdle out of the way. We got the power steering pump mounted. It wouldn't mount where it would factory. It was, the frame was in the way, the steering shaft was in the way, just everything's in the way because the motor is further back and dropped down from where it would normally be. So I made a little jumper bracket from the original bolt hole up and made a spacer off of that, and then welded a stud to the side of that so it would be able to move up for that adjustment. And once that was settled, then I made a little top bracket. I'm probably going to add a little standoff on that when I'm welding something with the exhaust. I'll probably bend one little piece and put a bolt in it and weld it to the side of it. And then the power steering line, I was able to take some of the bends out of it, put different bends in it, so I was able to use the pump and the line that I took off that Camaro. And some of the brackets, one of the brackets anyway, I cut up and made that work. So this is where we landed. So yeah, so you can see that right there was the original bolt. This is where it is now, that nut, the second one down. You can see the adjustment right there. And then that's the one that, it's a piece of threaded rod right now. I'll make a sleeve for that afterwards. And then I just, piece of angle iron, made a bracket for the top, and then cut down one of the factory brackets for back here. And that thing's rock solid. It's, you know, the bolts ain't even tight and you can't even wobble it, so that's good. And the power steering line ended up sneaking between the radiator and over there. I'm probably going to manipulate that just a crumb more, put a reverse bend right there. But that looks like it's going to work. And yeah, so that's good. I also noticed when I pulled the line off of it, this must have been the wrong pump for the car that was in. You can see somebody kinked it trying to bend that up. That was not me. I promise that. Yeah, that was definitely not me. I'll take credit for all my terrible work, but that one wasn't me. So I'm going to probably size up for a belt, and then I'm going to take a break for lunch. I think I'm creeping on about 3 o'clock right now. So I'm going to take a break for lunch. I'll get the alternator mounted just so that's sitting there, that there's no complications there. I just want it sitting there, confirm the belt that I have for it is going to work. And then I'll probably run and get the radiator hose I need and the bolts for the fan spacer so that can go on solid. And yeah, and then at that point I'll probably start on the headers. So see what happens. So I've done some heavy thinking, and I think I'm going to hold off on modifying the S10 conversion headers. Going to be a good amount of work. If it wasn't for that clutch linkage, I definitely would. So, sorry Jimmy, I super appreciate you hooking me up with them. I'll probably be getting back to you, but I'm going to make an attempt to make them out of the other headers that I have. And If it works out, great. If it starts fighting me, then I go back to these and I'm just gonna chop the hell out of them, because the passenger side one won't be a lot of work. The driver's side's the one that'll be a ton of work to make these ones work. So again, thanks for the headers. Let's see where we land. I'm hoping my plan is going to work, but we'll find out soon. But it's good to have this safety. So that time lapse might have been getting a little long. Sorry, there's a fan in the welder going. So I figured I'd just do a little break in it, show you the progress so far, and in case you couldn't tell, trying to build zoomies and gave up on regular headers. Why not? And to be honest, this is harder than just making some of the headers work. But I think it's going to be very fun. So yeah, so it lines up with the fender. It's going to be fun lining up on the other side because there's no fender there. It's routed right off. But that should be pretty decent. And I got the header all chopped up. This is brought in tight for the steering shaft and then brought back far enough for the control arm to be able to pass by it. And I used that as a gauge to where I was going to run the rest of them. Now, just snip some metal out of the way, and now I got to connect the dots from up here to down there. I hit that little fender brace I made down there when I threw the body together, so I may have to unscrew those and move them forward a ½ inch. But we're making progress, and this is the hottest side. So this one working around the steering shaft and control arm and everything else. This should be the worst one, and usually once you get the first one all figured out, the next one's a lot easier to get done. So if you see this, and the driver's side one's decent, and the passenger side one's all cobbled together, you knew I was just taking too much time on this one, and I just hacked that one. So I'll put the time lapse back on, and sorry it's a little boring. Hopefully I'm getting enough of a shot for you guys, and I'll keep going. I'll see if I can jam it in so I can get down into that corner now. This zooming is taking way too long. I'm trying to use 2 sets of headers per side and see if I can get it all done. I'm going to have to run a short section of 1 3/4 on 3 of them. It's 1 5/8, so there'll be 3 stubs that are a little bit wider. It is what it is. We got to get this done. and there's no time for ordering parts and waiting for them or chasing them all over the place. So it's definitely not my best work. It's definitely not pretty work, but it's getting there. I got one more elbow to make on cylinder 5, and once I get that elbow made, then it's just 3 longer stubs and 1 short stub to attach it on the outside, then pull it all out and fully weld the whole thing all the way around, because it's just all tacked at this point. So yeah, so that's it so far. That one I had to, sorry, that's all I can say is sorry. And this one here, the front one, I had to go out wide because how far back the tire comes when it turns. I couldn't go straight down like I thought I was going to. I was expecting to kind of come out and come off of this and go straight down to the zoomies on all of them, but it's just nope. With the tire, it was just getting ridiculous. So I got that one last one here. I had to make the downspout for that and then tie them in. I'm hoping I can stick it out and at least get it tacked together tonight for this one whole side. If I come back to the same one tomorrow, it's going to be a very unsatisfying start to the day. So, to get back to it, time lapse on again. Sorry this one's so long with not a lot of activity. Like, you just probably seeing me just come go, grind, cut, tack. It's getting tedious, I know. Bear with me on this one, and we'll get on to more productive, better watching stuff. Well, one hack job header is all welded up, fitted, and came out okay. Definitely not happy with the welds. Definitely not getting this guy. He seems like he fluctuates a lot. But I took off one of the header tags, mounted it on the front. But she is what she is. That one's the hokiest bend. But yeah, she's up and out of the way. Clear the tire, clear the control arm, clear the steering shaft, clear all the spark plugs and all that. So that's one way to do it. She ain't gonna be quiet, but she's gonna run. Well, thanks for watching. I know this one was torture for just a lot of just tedious time lapse, but in the end, a lot of hours. One side's done. Hopefully tomorrow the other side will be half as many hours because I'm not working around a steering shaft and everything else, and I already have kind of everything figured out on this side. So let's see what happens.